The San Jose Sharks fall once again to the Nashville Predators 3-2. They do put up a spirited fight in the second period, but it's not enough to break through. We'll talk about all of that, cover a little bit of the trade deadline and just some of Landi's quick thoughts, and we'll end it out there. All right, stay tuned. But first, if you want to be a part of the show and join the conversation with your fellow Sharks fans, chat with us and the fellow Sharks fans across the YouTube chat or on other various social media platforms, gathering around at Teal Town USA. But of course, you can find us across all of those social media handles, whether that's Blue Sky, the X, Threads, Facebook, Reddit, the Discord shenanigans, TikTok, and everything else at tealtownusa.com. And if you want to support the pod, please head us up at Venmo at tealtownusa or the super chat donation. We thank you so much. You know, it keeps the lights on and the internet flowing for Puckguy. So we got a live drop in from Puckguy. So Puckguy, quickly, how was the game this evening? I know kind of a little anticlimactic, but you got to see some of the new additions here at the tank.
Hey, you got a tease. You got the classic third period tease for the Sharks. You know, 2 goals, 14 seconds. Originally, Danny Miller said 4 seconds apart, and I thought that was going to be a Sharks record. And I thought, oh, that was a really long 4 seconds. Beside the point, it was a little lackluster. It was not like the game in Nashville, back in January or February. It's like, oh gosh, but kudos to the Sharks for the bottom six, or as Brett Hedman used to say, the second six, jumping in and doing some damage. Miles with his first NHL goal went right to the net, and kind of like Colin Graff did the same thing, kind of just going in front of the net and banging it home past Saros was phenomenal. This place, we really want to, was full of excitement there, and then we went with. So I don't know what it is about Sharks goaltending, Landi, but they need to stop playing the puck. It's a little bit too much, bro.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it generation after generation with Sharks goaltending. They just don't play the puck well. I don't know if it's just like the color teal and playing the puck. I just don't know. But yeah, if I was a goaltender and I was wearing, the Shark colors, I would just kind of stay in the crease the whole time. But that's just me.
Yeah, it was tough, but I thought the first 20 minutes they did fairly well. The second 20, that that 3K's got to get going. I think there was like 11 power play goals in the last 6 games. I think Curtis Pachelka put it up on the Twitter tonight. So again, still plenty of room to improve. Kudos for them to making it interesting. Unfortunately, just a bad play by Georgiev really cost this team some communication. As Brett Hedeken always says, that communication, it's free, use it. That's going to cost them in the long run. It sucks, but to add on or cushion that best odds possible, definitely helps things out for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think right now the team is just we're kind of not in the wait and see mode, but I think there is a little bit of a realization of what the team's going to look like come off season wise. And right now, this is the best time for the team to for the players that are on expiring deals or those tweener players to really make a difference and really make a name for themselves going into next year, because I think right now it's all about setting up yourself for next year's jobs, right?
It's job security. Let's be honest right now. And there are some others that want to make an impact for Celebrini. It's about getting the Calder for Smith. It's trying to finish strong, which he's done since he went to Boston, went home, had some nice clam chowder. Who knows what else he had, but it's been rolling since. got an assist tonight on the graph goal to make it interesting, but they just need to find something to get them over the hump. And it's okay if they don't. And I get that. You're at 32nd place. We know where this team is. This team is fighting to potentially get the number one overall pick again. But you want to see that hope. You want to see that fun. You want to see that build. We got that a little bit in the third period tonight. Just need a little bit more and a more consistently effort.
Yeah. No, I agree. Definitely need to add to the consistency. And I'm wondering if that's what motivated some of the player transactions that I'll dive into a little bit more. I won't rehash too much because beating a dead horse, but I think that really dovetails into the players that are left standing and kind of what they represent and the players that were brought in definitely was a certain mold, right? So
Right. And it's tough for them to, it's their time. Like I said, it's their time to showcase their talents and get their stuff together because you want to be here next year. Do you want to be part of the process? Do you want to take your game to the next level? Or as we've heard, you know, ad nauseum, play the right way. That's the big one indeed for the Sharks going forward in these last now 16 games, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, yep, 16 games left on the docket. So yeah, it will be interesting to see where the team, finally settles in as far as line combinations, where players are going to, play, who else will be called up from the Barracuda in this last little bit, to get the auditions, similar to September call-ups from baseball. It's just that kind of year, right? So, you do get some rotation and we'll see. I mean, a guy like Colin Graff, right? He scores tonight and is a guy that came with a little bit of NCAA pedigree. Has that really translated throughout the levels as we want to see in the developmental levels? I think that there's a little bit left to be desired there, but this is a perfect opportunity for a guy like that to really secure a spot going into next season because this team, is going to need some solid bottom six or second six depth.
Yep. Especially down the road, especially with the amount of people that you moved in at the trade line with Nico Stern, among others, to be that next group. But also at the same time, I think Greer was really trying to set it up for the Barracuda to go on a big run too. Do they deserve that? It's been a rough year for the Cuda lately. Um, but again, it's about getting the jobs. It's about trying to be the best version of themselves. I'll use that Ted Lasso link just because I know that's what Warsaw is thinking. It's just about finding a way to get to that next level, and they need to start showing it a little bit. May not results in wins or anything like that, but something of that nature is what's going to need to go over.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, just overall takeaways, because I mean, we haven't really talked about it. From your perspective, did you like what Greer did, as far as the moves go, and now actually getting to see, those moves translate on the ice? What was your take on it? Because I think it left me I would say I understood going into it what he was trying to do. I think, as the trade deadline evolved, we kind of understood where the marketplace was going. I understood, kind of going through some of the pieces that he was able to move, but then there were a couple others that were kind of head scratchers. So total overall to me, it was kind of a head scratcher.
I thought it was fine up until the Zetterland deal, which I think
Yeah,
caught everybody as by surprise. Um, but the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think about, okay, when you have guys like Fulton or Musty uh, or Chernyshov that'll be up here, if not next year, the year after that, where's Zetterland going to be? Is he going to be on the third line? And if so, are you willing to pay, you know, multi millions of dollars for a guy that's going to be a third line winger? Nothing against him. And I freaking love Zetterlund. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I just love the passion, the smile. reminded me of Hurdle a little bit, big time. The thing is, what do you want to do with it? And I think and of course they are, Greer and the scouts were all excited about a stop check, about being, hopefully that third line, fourth line, bottom six forward that can, be a big body that can use him on there. Uh, so
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's good, but I mean, I like what Dank growing. Love the handle, by the way.
and
What he's saying, but you can't put all the marbles on the prospects though, and I think that this is where I get back to, you have to have the right mix of good veteran talent that superstar players
yep.
can relate to. You have to have players that are in that 24, 25, 26 range,
Mhm.
and then you have to have the young players. I mean, you have to have a good, I would say, cohesive nucleus. And I just
Sure.
I just felt that the piece that they got back, or when I say cohesive nucleus, I just mean a good setup from veteran down to rookie forward, right? Where there's a good support system for each bracket of player level. But what I found just really interesting was, you have a guy like Eklund, right, who's built a really good relationship with Zetterlund. You know that Zetterlund has been a 20 goal guy before.
Mhm.
He's shaping up to be at least a 20 goal guy now. Going forward, I think you can probably pencil him in for at least a 20 to 25 goal output. I mean, that would be where I would say you would want to kind of pencil him in as far as a career goes. Why would you trade that known commodity for another roll at the dice when you say that you want to start competing, for, to be more successful in the upcoming season? To me, you've just made a step backwards. You took a piece that was an NHL known and you swapped it out for an NHL unknown.
Well, I think the time wise, I think McGreer had mentioned time wise that wasn't ready yet. So there's that. And again, as I mentioned before, where Zetterlund would be in the lineup versus where a stock check is projected to be and I think the thing that rubs everybody the wrong way is like you didn't get enough for him, for Zetterlund, and Ottawa. Their timeline fits perfectly for Zetterlund. This is where he would fit in and everything. And the Sharks are still a year behind. And honestly, the way that Greer's talking about next season is going to be a similar year. Maybe get a little bit of growth, but 26, 27. That's the year where things are going to go. And if that's the case, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow for fans who are dying to get close to back to a playoff contention, a playoff spot contention.
Well, and then
So
and that's what I'm talking about. He says one thing and he does another, where he's got the one objective that's coming out of his mouth, and yet he's making a move to me that subtracts from the NHL roster and subtracts from that goal of really competing, in the upcoming season, or at least in the next two seasons. I think about a guy like Hurdle, who you could have still kept, and I know we've debated ad nauseum about whether or not Askarov could have been gotten. They're turning the
the
lights
lights are
off.
going out. I think I gotta get going soon.
All right. Well, Puckguy, I mean, you can stay on audio if you want and just listen in. And
I'll
when you,
I'll see what I can do. I'll be back on though.
all right, sounds
All right.
good. All right.
Be nice to Landy, gang.
Thanks, everybody. We'll go solo from here. So we'll do one of these and we'll turn into the into the into the screen here. Let me go ahead now and pull over the my little monitor here and pull up my notes and get this all situated for you guys, an intimate viewing session. And when I mean intimate, I mean camera angle, not necessarily content. um but no, we'll quickly kind of end that thought process that I had. So we talked a little bit about a guy like Hurdle, right? And I had talked about how last season, yes, you want to maximize the value of that player. It's a contract that didn't necessarily age quite well. And you've got a new set of core players. You've also got the player that's a little unhappy, so you have to also do right by the player. So there's a lot of things to juggle. However, saying that, when you say that you want to compete for a playoff spot, in the next 2 seasons, um, I just don't know that some of the moves that he's made, because yeah, you do got to take some steps backwards in order to take steps forward, but you also have to have some good talent that surrounds, incoming rookies. And we can just look at the poster child, which is the Buffalo Sabres, right? And I have been listening a lot of On the Sheet with Merrick, and thank goodness that Merrick got back to doing what does best in short form podcasts and stuff on the daily. But going back, they just keep talking about Buffalo. They keep coming up as a team that has been stuck in this mushy middle and has just been stuck in purgatory of rebuilding. And I just don't want that for the Sharks. Not that I'm saying that it's happening now. And I think the Hot Wheels, Hot Wheels pulling it up Sharks are Buffalo West. That's exactly what I don't want the Sharks to be. And I think that thank you, AJ, for pulling it up. So Warsaw saying fair assessment when asking about Gorgiev making a huge mistake on the third goal. Yeah, we'll talk about that, just quickly about that move and what it was meant to do, because I think this is exactly what it was meant to do, to make them tank, to kind of get them set up into a nice position for the draft. But that having been said, that you can't just surround kids with crap free agents that you're able to pick up off the lot that just want to come for a payday. Luckily a guy like Tyler Toffoli, everywhere he goes, he's a 30-goal scorer, and busts his butt and is a good role model for young players. But again, you wonder about what kind of talent they can surround Macklin and William and Eki. And when you make a move like pulling Zetz from the lineup, a guy who's really well liked, who's kind of, of similar age, a similar age bracket to, to Eki, it's tough. And I mean, we saw the interviews, or saw the snippets from the interviews Eklund did on the trade deadline, and he's like said it's like losing a piece of your family, right? I mean, losing a fellow Swede, right? A guy he can talk to in his native language, which I'm sure is very, very comforting. A guy who he plays with, on the regular. He knows how he plays. And Vincent Alvarado pulls it right up. I mean, don't look now, but in 2 games since Zetterlund was traded, Eklund has no points. Yeah. Again, I wonder if there was. I wonder in the back of my mind if this was not a shot against all of the rookies, because that, and this kind of goes back to the Brian Burke school of GMing, where you have to make an example of a RFA who is not necessarily a superstar, but who's a good player, where you draw the line. And I'm wondering if Zetterlund, with his offer, and with the offer that he had his agent put forward, if that just so cleared the bar, as far as resetting where the salary structure is of the younger forwards. Now, I don't think he would ask for the world, but I think he probably asked for probably somewhere north of $6 million. And if you've got that going on, and you're questioning whether or not he's motivated to play every day. That was one of the things that Greer brought up. Now, I don't know exactly where that is, but he said, he wants his consistency to be better every day. But if he's asking for that, and it's it's tough It's tough if it's tough if the precedent was centered around Zetterlund. It was set by Zetterlund, meaning, hey, if you're going to ask for more than your share of the pie, we have no problem moving you out. So here we got a couple of things coming in from AJ. So AJ, thank you so much. Appreciate you pulling up all of the quotes and stuff, but also having your feedback too. He says, I appreciate the way Eklund subtly called out Greer, talking about how it's time to build and the boys are sick of losing. Look, we're all sick of covering losing Sharks. Look, this season I think is set. It's gonna be a number one overall type of year again. And we've got to just kind of lay in the bed that we made. But again, you've got to start looking to an eye for at least the semi present, right? I feel like we've already, we've got the eye towards the 2 year mark, but it's like you've got to win tomorrow. You've got to win tomorrow's game. And there's no time like the present to start building good habits and building a good culture around that. So again, I just don't want this to be Edmonton circa 2010s and Buffalo right now. But let's quickly go through some of the chat. Thank you, AJ. Now it's just time to start building here. Me personally, I think it's time to stop losing. I want to win and I'm sick of losing. Yeah, building instead of subtracting. I think very, very much so. AJ is calling it out. Eklund, we lost a guy who wants to be here every day, wants to work hard every day. He was buying in on everything. Yep. And yeah, it's part of the business, but we're all sick of losing here. And I hope this was a move in the right direction. It's very refreshing to see that from Eklund. It's not undermining the GM in such a way that you're slagging him, but I think you're offering, some constructive feedback. And I think it's a good, it's a good toe between, allowing your feelings to come out, but also, kind of holding the teal curtain up, so to speak. Okay, Rocks and Jaws a little bit. He said we're talking about Eklund having a little bit of a temper. Um, yeah, but again, we got to remember he's 22. Again, I'd rather have a guy. I'd rather try to tame a tiger than paint stripes on a pussycat, right? So again, I don't mind a little bit of that, and he cares. That's the thing is he cares. And that's what I want. I mean, I want players to be here that want to be here. If you don't want to be here, if you don't want to be part of the solution, then GTFO. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. If as far as I'm concerned, um, it's the same thing. It's the same thing that I see from Macklin Celebrini, and we got to talk about this because oh boy, howdy. I see sometimes in the chat and I see sometimes on X these crazy outlandish Macklin Celebrini is not going to be here. He doesn't look happy, yada yada yada. Look, Major League Baseball as closest thing to indentured servitude we got left. The NHL is not far behind it. So as far as keeping a guy like Macklin Celebrini, the cards are all in the Sharks' favor. The Sharks hold all of the marbles. So don't you worry about that. The other thing too is we have an owner that's savvy, right? He's not necessarily going to be plucking in on the day-to-day, but he definitely knows talent when he sees it, right? So he wouldn't let somebody like that go away. So anyways, I just wanted to quickly address that because that was something that was just boggling my mind. And when we do see Macklin pissed off, to me, that's a good thing. That means that this kid is buying in and that this kid wants to lead a good team. So again, I think that we don't really have to worry about where Macklin's head is at the moment. He's going to be a guy that wants to be part of the solution, and I want those type of players to surround him too. Oh, thank you, AJ. AJ saying I'd rather, the tame a tiger than paint stripes on a pussycat. Yeah, exactly. Um, but again, I mean, it's right. You can always tune a guy down, but man, it's hard to push a guy up. If a guy is not, wading into the deep end, and somebody's got to push him, that's not a good thing, especially for a hockey player. So, okay. Let's see here. Okay, we got Big Bird. Thank you, Big Bird. Appreciate it. Not wasting time and money. Okay, problem reading Twitter for the Saint Takers. Yeah, right. Uh oh yeah, and thank you everybody for watching, commenting, subscribing. We really do appreciate it. We do this show, this dog and pony show for the Sharks fans who can't get enough. Luckily the ecosystem around the Sharks has come around, but again, we're still going to be here, and again, we think we bring the fan perspective, and I think we just bring a little bit of a more objective take, and I think that's all you can ask for in your podcasters of choice. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and again, continuing to be on here with me. So quickly, we'll quickly run through the game notes tonight. I mean, look, it was pretty boring in that first period, pretty probative. This seemed like the Sharks, the second game coming back home, a little bit of that lag. So again, very few shots on goal, so nothing really too big there. In that second period, we had 2 goals, one from Philip Forsberg and Stamkos, both on the power play. Uh, Broken record. I mean, AJ will. I mean, if I say AJ, he's going to come on like Beetlejuice. If I talk about power play, up there we go. Maybe he's going to come on, but you've got to have the penalty kill working, man. And PK tonight leaking a lot of oil, so not good. Letting a lot of looks through. But again, I mean, understandable. You had a lot of your PK core. Some of it got traded away, so it's hard to readjust that. It'll help when a guy like Noah Gregor gets back in the lineup, but again, it is what it is here today. And so, the PK not doing a great job on their end. In that third period, the Sharks came in, and, I felt like they were picking up from that second period where they got a lot of shots on goal. In that second period, they weren't able to cash in, but they were able to cash in the third, getting Giles and Graf on the board with Goodrow and Grunstrom on Giles' goal, and then on Graf's goal it was Smith, and Smith now with 21 assists on the season, so good for Will. It started off a little slow, but I think he's starting to kind of come into his own, and then of course the dagger with Kiefer Bellows, and Forsberg getting the assist there, but just Georgiev with just the massive brain fart on that third goal. Again, why you're playing the puck in that situation, I have no idea. But just it's just horrible, just one of those times where you go, what were you thinking, man? And unfortunately for Georgiev, he's just having one of those years to forget. The Forgiev moniker has come out, but yeah, it's just for goaltenders. Sometimes they have those off years. I mean, we saw it with both Nemo and with Joner, but they would be bipolar. Goaltending is bipolar, and and as far as future plans for him, as where he's going with the Sharks, look, he's going to be after the season he's done. So I don't think the Sharks resign him, and of course we all see where Romanov's coming in, right? So I think it would be nice to see Romanov come in here at the end, but again, I think Mike Gurr probably doesn't want the team to win as much now, right? So you gotta worry about getting that first overall, because I mean you're committed to the part now. Okay. well, let's talk a little bit about next year will be the second year of Gears draft classes. And sure, okay, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming draft. So the Sharks putting themselves in a great position with their draft capital. There's a great website that I really love to use. It is called prosportstransactions.com, and gives you a breakdown of all sorts of different sports, but the draft pick ownership. So it's a really, really great really great tool that I love to use. But anyways, the Sharks, looking at this now, have two firsts coming up. We've got the 2 seconds, which is awesome to get that second from the Senators. Looking down here, let's see, we get 1/3. Looks like, yeah, 1/3, 2/4. No, 3/4. Nice. 2/5, a sixth, and 2/7. So, getting the war cabinet piled up for the draft is good. I think Greer is also one of those GMs that is not afraid to pull the trigger during draft day as well. So again, we'll see where the teams end up. But maybe there's some Yahoo that wants to take take the defenseman number 1 overall, and will give up a king's ransom for it. I don't think the prospect at the number 1 overall was is going to be generational, but I have seen stranger things go on. But again, it's just really going to depend, right? Because I go back to what Greer said, his closing comments, kind of wrapping up the trade deadline and what he thought of the trade deadline, the moves that he made versus what he said, and wanting to compete next year, and in between the next 1 to 2 seasons, and having the next trade deadline be one where they at least stand pat and not have to subtract. They got a lot of work to do in the offseason, is all I'm going to say. As far as shaping the roster, as far as adding more talent to the roster, and as far as where where the youth that they already have is going to start backfilling in. Because again, the Sharks are going to have a few guys where it's put up or shut up time, as far as youngsters trying to push up from the CUDA in the coming season. So it'll be interesting to see how the mix kind of turns out. And then, of course, we'll see what free agents Greer is looking at picking up, because, of course, you're going to have to surround these kids with some adult leadership for sure. So yeah. And as far as who I'm looking at drafting, I think it is the defenseman out of the O. I love Dickinson, and I think Dickinson's going to be a top 4 defenseman. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a 2-3. And the reason why I would say that he kind of profiles out to be a little bit more of a two-way defender. I think we see his offensive abilities and we get wowed by that. But I look at a guy like Justin Braun, who had a very similar trajectory, where kind of offensive in the younger days, and then as he gets called up, has more of that defensive prowess, and really is known for being more of a two-way type defender. So I think that's what Dickinson's going to track out to be in the end. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's kind of what he profiles out to be. I'd really love to see a pure offensive guy. I know we've got Cagnoni, who I am really interested to see, especially because you see what Quinn is doing up in Vancouver, and you think, hey, could they replicate that? So could the Sharks replicate that with a smaller type defenseman? I mean, yep, you had a guy named Dan Boyle who was pretty damn good. So it'd be interesting to see where they can integrate Cagnoni. So I think defenseman is where I go to me. But again, the Sharks are in the position where if you get the number one overall, you pick best talent all day, every day. You take number one overall talent. I tend to be of the mindset where you draft for talent, best of talent available, not what you need. Because I think once you start drafting for what you need, you get into Montreal, all of the 2000s, where they continually go after just the types of players that they need, but unfortunately, miss on some really key guys. So again, I think that's kind of where the Sharks need to be. Just take the best talent that's overall. Thomas Bordeleau, yeah, I'd love to see Thomas Bordeleau get a call up. I'd want to see where he's at. Windy City Hawkeye, thank you for joining us. But looking forward to Bedard versus Celebrini on Thursday. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be very interested to see as well where where those two are going to as far as end up ice time wise. I think also if they're going to face each other, and of course they're both North Vancouver boys, so it'll be interesting to see if there's a little bit of some trash rivalry there too. Yeah, Vincent chiming. Yeah, power play is crying for Cagnoni. Yeah, I want to see Cagnoni, but I don't know that we're going to see him this season. I think with a defenseman, you just keep him marinating, you let him cook, don't mess with it. And then let's see where he's at come camp. All right, so let's go ahead here and let's run through the final parts of the show this evening. So in case if you missed it and you want to catch it again, or you want to pick up the audio, first off, smash the like, sub, and bell button so you know when we go live. But of course, if you're a long time, you know that we go live after every single Sharks game. Yeah, I know we do the abuse to ourselves, but I guess we like it. So yeah, check us out across the YouTube Rewind. And then, of course, the likes, the subs, and the bell all help us out in that algorithm. Of course, check us out where you get your podcasts of choice. But we're on the Apple Podcast, the YouTube Music Store, of course, the YouTube Rewind, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, the Odyssey app, and, of course, TealTownUSA.com. And for myself, and final thoughts, because I can't really speak for Puckguy, right? So as far as kind of where I'm thinking when I'm ending up here, I want to see the Sharks end with the 16 games, really putting an emphasis on being hard and physical to play against. I'd love to see Smith and Celebrini continue to grow, and really, get that Calder for Celebrini, because we Logan Couture was robbed of his, and I would hate to see Celebrini get robbed of it in the last 16 games because he went on a little bit of a cold streak. And I would like to see the defensive structure, from the defense, tighten up, and see if they can integrate a young defenseman coming up and getting their feet a little bit more wet, and really getting that consistency that the coaching staff is looking for. So, as far as where you can find me, you can use my first name. That's ERIKLANDI across all the social media platform garbages. And you can find Puckguy at Puckguy14. And let's see. Well, I think we know how to end it, right? We like to keep it real. We like to keep it teal. We like to keep it real teal. And good night, everybody. We'll see you after the next game. And yeah, we'll pick it up next time. Talk to you guys later. Bye.